It started without us, though. There's one thing I needed to do is pull it away from you. Daisy, you and that little cracker, whatever that thing is.
Will you turn that fan on for me?
Move, Daisy, move!
$66 people.
They can hear you.
They hear me?
Of course, we're live. I told you it starts automatically.
I'm good with that. What's up, y'all? Oh, what's the deal, baby? Man, it's good to be back. How y'all been doing? Man. How y'all been? 66 is all we got? Come on, y'all. Man, trying to tell y'all, life is good. How are y'all doing tonight? 66 is all we got? Oh, for real? Dang. Let me see. We got 90. Cool. Hey, what's up, y'all? What's going on? I ain't even looked at everybody. Shout out to everybody that's in here, man. Gang, gang, gang. Shout out to Patreon. Y'all know we've been doing it 2 times a week. Mondays and Fridays. Not ashamed to say it. Best that did it. Quarterbacked it from way back. You know how we do it. Man, I've been calling it since way back. Yeah, baby. You know what it is, man. You know what it is. You know what it is.
Who called that dong, though?
Man, the dong.
Who called that dong?
I got to give it up to Miss BB on that one, man. For real. Because, man, 150 people in here. Can I go and play my music, man? Can I play my music? Man, I'm so crunk up on her. Yeah, Miss BB. Shout out to Miss BB with the realness.
And shout out to oh gosh, wait.
Tehran.
No.
Before I play his music, you better say it.
Wait.
Come on, I'm about to play his music.
Go on, I'll shout over the music.
Bombs coming, bombs.
I'll shout.
I'm about to bring it like Hiroshima, y'all.
Shout out to Robert for that document he sent me back in December.
And I'm going to go over all them documents. All of them. Treasury. Wall Street Journal. The everything. How it all ties together. How it all works. I'm Chef B with the pot. You know what I do it. I came to bring it to y'all. You know I don't want to bring it to y'all unless I got it. So you know what? Can I play the sweetest, most melodious sounds your eardrums, oh my, have ever heard? And yeah, I look like a crayon box. Woo!
Thank you, Senior Faye.
Thank you, sir. Still vaping, never changing. Polo Ladon, you know what it is. Everything. Haters gonna watch and we gonna set trends. Every week. They hate me, but they keep listening to me. Appreciate everybody that tunes in. Thank you guys so much. The love is well spent. It's well loved. I appreciate y'all. I know y'all been missing the bombs, and I plan to bring them to you for real. Y'all need nuclear tonight, baby. I've been missing. Shout out to Apple Podcasts. We on Mr. Brando's theme music podcast right now, playing the theme song. If you're not on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you need to go out. Spotify. You know what I'm saying?
Spotify.
Spot pimp. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God.
You know what it is, baby.
Oh
Spotify.
God.
You know what it is. We with the big boys, baby. We don't do simple things around here.
I can't.
We do it. We do big boy things around here, baby. We don't remember you. We replace you. That's what we do around here. Now, since the last time I saw you, so many things have happened. First of all, Happy New Year. Can we do some basic introductions real quick? I'm just saying Happy New Year. I mean, it's a salutation. I mean, I haven't seen my friends. I'm back in the gang. I'm back hanging out.
I was here last week.
But I mean, I ain't seen them. I mean, like, I'm not saying, you know what I mean? I can't, you know?
Oh, okay.
Kind of like, hey.
Should I go get the document?
Go get the document.
Should I go get phase 1 that Robert sent me for Christmas?
Go get your bomb.
That was my Christmas present from Robert.
Can I say I'm still ultimately impressed by President Trump's move today, as well as President Trump's move to kill Soleimani the other day. I think every move he's made in the last couple of weeks, screw the impeachment process. You can hate me if you want to. I want to see this man go for at least the next 11 months, and you'll know why I'm saying that in a few minutes. But this dude right here is the reason why we are where we are. And if you aren't sitting here celebrating this man, whether you like his politics or not, it's not about politics. Politics will not pay you, but it's about who's in power that will enact the things that will pay you that you need to respect. Okay.
Oh, okay.
You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Oh. I am April BB, and I bring you the news. The Dawn News.
Okay. And I am Mr. Bomb Bringer Brando! And you know what? This is Wednesday. I am so glad to be back with you guys. It has been a minute. We've got bomb after bomb after bomb. And welcome back to the reinstatement, the status of the reinstatement of the Iraqi Dinar, IQD, and it's a check! Boom, we're going to talk about the news. So, on January 14th, this was it. Demonstrators wrote a statement in which 100 points came as follows. Accountability for killing our youth, especially the massacre of Nazariah, complete the elections law and ratify it, complete the attachment table for multiple circles with specifying the size of the circle, set the date for early parliamentary elections, mandate for an independent, non-controversial interim prime minister. The government gives a period of 1 week to implement the popular demands. In the event the demands are not fulfilled, the international road will be completely cut off after a week from the date of today. So people want to know of cause and effect. If you don't implement these on the 14th, 7 days later, they will cut off the road. The next, I'm telling you guys right now, I've already told my other group, hey, look, if they don't do that, they're going to start cutting off the actual oil supply, which is the lifeblood of the system, and I'll get to that in a few minutes, which will make perfect sense. Now, what you got to understand about that fact right there is now the citizens are starting to get definitive about what they want. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So now they're starting to voice their opinion. These are the things that we want. These are the things that have to happen so that we feel safe and warm, and so that, you know what? We want to see the new elections. And I've told people this. I don't care who is the new prime minister, because the new prime minister will not be probably Shia. They will probably be a liberal. There will probably be somebody that's either a Sunni or a Kurd. And you know what? They will probably be nonpartisan of belief. And the very first thing that person will do, and you know what? You can probably write this down if you want to. This is my first bomb of the evening. They will probably fire the CBI governor. It's called the golden rule. He who controls the gold controls the rules. The gold is the oil supply that goes into the country, and those who control the dinar that is actually transacted inside of the country. So you fire the CBI governor, and guess what you do? Then you fire the cabinet. First the CBI governor. Why? Because you want to have control of that. Then the cabinet goes next. When the the terrorist Soleimani was executed, and they executed the PMUs, 1, 2, and 3, so went the Iranian influence out of Iraq. A lot of people have a hard time understanding what influence means. Influence means that you got somebody there that's in your ear that's basically putting money in your pocket or facilitating you to do bad things. Since Soleimani's gone, Maliki never had those stones. So guess what? You knocked off the top 3 PMU, you knocked off Soleimani, the Iranian influence is on its way out. Al-Siri said in a televised statement, Iraq has no choice but to rely on the oil revenue account at the Federal Reserve Bank in New York, which is approved by the decision of the UN Council. He pointed out that the freezing or tampering with this account means destruction to the country and not only to the economy, noting that selling Iraqi oil in the end means transferring funds this account. If Iraq wants to stop this matter, it will return what is known as Chapter 7, which means that will take place country management by the United Nations. Now, what that basically means to you is they are not in Chapter 7. They can actually go in progression forward. They can accept Article 8 if they have a fully seated government, which we've always said. They've got the financial management law in place. They've got the Financial Management Act in place. Those things are actively in order right now. We know that because of the articles. I can't read them all in an hour show, but we know they're actually in place right now. So now they're federated. So now the actual last year's budget makes sure this year's budget gets paid. Now what does that do? That takes the money out of the corrupt. Now the budget gets paid on its own. You're now federated. Which I've always said, you gotta have a federation government because you know why? It takes the money out of the GOI, which is Shiite dominated, and now it puts it in the place of the financial committee. And guess what? It's on auto pay. It's like when you guys pay your bills at an auto pay, your checking account just pays it. You can't steal that money and you can't corrupt it. But what that also tells you now that all the money from the oil revenues goes to the Federal Reserve in New York, and that money has to be reviewed and supervised by the U.S. president. OFAC also, I'm going to drop another quick bomb. Sorry, I'm full of bombs. Y'all, if you don't know this, OFAC also supervises the auctions, the CBI auctions.
What does OFAC stand for?
The Office Foreign Accounts something. Hold on.
You had given it to me the other day.
Office of Foreign Assets Control. They are the international bans list and blacklist. So you know what? If they control the people that are on the ban list for the auctions, right? So they know everybody that's been getting money off the auctions. They approve them. So either OFAC or the United States government, whoops, sorry, did I say that?
What you say?
I see either OFAC or the United States government knows who's been getting paid off the auctions, or somehow someone like that's been benefiting from it. I was already right about someone snitching out Soleimani. You already see 3 arrests being made, right? They arrested those people. They're going to have those ties back to a Sunni or a liberal, trust me, or a Christian, right? Right? Now follow me, kids. Now watch. That money that goes in the Federal Reserve is controlled by the U.S. government.
Is that the money he was talking about keeping?
Yes. So if you cut off that Federal Reserve money, guess what you do?
What?
You send them back to Chapter 7, which is all for food. They're not in Chapter 7, so you know what that means? They can be in Chapter 8.
Wait. So is it $35 billion he said that they had?
In one account. They have way more than that in other accounts. And that account also lets you know when they told you they were relinquishing them from all sanctions. Guess what that basically told you? We're going to go ahead and sign the Iraq-China agreement. Well, let me get to that in a minute.
Wait.
Hold on. Let me stop. I'm giving y'all too many bombs in a row. That there are obstacles facing the expulsion decision. The Kurdish and Sunnis represented the boycott on that session. Which parliament voted on the decision to remove the American forces from Iraq? I was the first person to scream on here that that was illegal. They couldn't do that. They didn't have precedents. And now every article that you see coming out, if they can't pass a budget, you can't kick the American coalition or the United Coalition out of Iraq. With that being said, Parliament will hold the last session today. Now, noting it will return its session with the completion of the assignment of a new prime minister. Now, with that, you have to understand what timing means. It's surely ironic that today they signed the China trade agreement. Now, it has nothing to do with Iraq in the sense of Iraq and the China trade agreement have something to do with one another. Mm-hmm. But it's surely, in fact, ironic that they all of a sudden now, when they come back in a few days, say, we'll have this all done. Mm-hmm. And they also signed a major agreement on their own. Now, that confirms for you guys a time frame for a new prime minister. Now, you should see them before 30 days. Now, as the trade developments happen with the new trade agreement, you should also see implementation of 2 new trade agreements within those 30 days. Okay? And if you see those things, then you know 2 things have happened. The absence of Soleimani from the Iraqi political scene will facilitate the task of forming the new Iraqi government. He was considered the main player in the process, and his absence will give a greater freedom to the political forces to choose the personalities without an Iranian dictate, as happened in previous nominations, which met with great political and popular rejection. So they just told you, now the mainstream media in Iraq just told you, Iran's out. So if Iran's out, you're going to see a whole new Iraqi person become PM in the next few days, or weeks maybe, of Iraq. And with that, they won't have Iranian influence. Now, that's a real negative influence out that one could really name. We could say Maliki, we could say Amiri, we could say Sadr. But now that they don't have someone there to orchestrate or engineer the 3 top leaders of the PMU, the new PM will be free to not only pick a new cabinet, but to pick the sub-cabinet, primarily a new CBI governor. The deal signed with the United States and China set precedents, the agreement all over the world. Its significance meant way more currency and way more trade agreements than anybody could fathom. The financial systems and trade agreements and partnerships that were formed today because of that agreement will not be known just today, but for the next 100 years. And that partnership, if allowed and without interruption, will flourish and flower for many more. And it is the reason why, if you're sitting here and you're a part of this chat and you're a part of this investment or the dong or some other currencies, you should be dancing in your seat. Children of Iraq, while the demands of the peaceful and benevolent among the Iraqi people continue, the need to reform and advancing the economic reality of the country, the Iraqi government has embarked on the implementation of the China oil agreement. Hold on. They signed the USA-China agreement today, but today they also indoctrined the total economic reform package of the Iraqi-China agreement. Is that not coinky-dink? Which we believe the country will recap its fruits in excellent manners in the next years. The commitment said in a statement during a press conference held in Parliament building today for the following reasons. Fund. Argument includes coverage of projects such as airports, buildings, schools, paving roads, blah, blah, blah. Convention is penal and conditions in fall within the friendship agreement in the event of dispute are restoring the international arbitration bodies to decide. That means that if you don't like the agreement, you can quit it. That's huge. If you don't like the agreement and you're Iraq, you can stop. Okay? The China Fund for Reconstruction is supervised by the Iraqi Party and a guarantee investment company chosen by the central bank from among 5 international companies. More so, the money all sits in the Federal Reserve. The revenues of 100,000 barrels of oil per day sold to China are reserved specifically for the Chinese national company, and its revenue shall be placed in the Iraqi Chinese Fund, again, which is held by the Federal Reserve. Now, I make note of the Federal Reserve because why? We know that all oil revenues are supervised by the President of this United States. Mm-hmm. That money goes in there, they have to request it, transferred and changed into dinars, that money shipped back. That makes a big difference. So even though they sell that oil, it doesn't mean that they get to just profit or steal it. It goes into a fund in which it has to go for reconstruction. It can't be tampered with because the President of the United States of America watches over it. No, I'm fine.
I turned the fan on.
It's just not strong enough.
Okay.
Now, that's major when you start to think about if something was to happen and the United States felt threatened, they just simply cut off the flow of money supply from Iraq to America. And that's how they go from Chapter 8 capabilities to Chapter 7. That's simple. Mm-hmm. They just told you. It just explained it. That's massive. The U.S. stock indexes on Tuesday late afternoon were losing major steam and turning negative on the heels of a report on tariffs of Chinese goods, and they will remain in place from 2020 until the new presidential election. Dong people, they just gave you a major timeline.
Say that one more time.
Major timeline.
Say that one more time. The Dong people was in their phone.
U.S. stock indexes Tuesday late afternoon were losing steam and turning negative on the heels of a report that tariffs on Chinese goods would remain in place until after the 2020 presidential elections.
Oh, yeah. Because that's to make them behave, right?
To make them mind. Now, that means you got between now and November to enact those acts in which you're going to read in just a few minutes, right? Now, so what does the 4 emerging markets get on board or even playing field as well as trade is concerned and raise their currency standards to what the world deems as fair, and those treaties that they are active, fair, and trade agreements, and some of them are free. They cannot enslave their trade partners through a deficient currency practice and create trade deficits that don't enable their trade partners to flourish. This service is something that the new platform has been set. And with this, cheap labor and living below the poverty means will not be acceptable. So now pressure is put upon Vietnam, Singapore, and a couple other people to step it up.
How about Indonesia?
Indonesia, can you point that more towards me, please?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help you out.
And to change their currency practices, because guess what? As of today, they have been put on notice.
Can you feel that?
Yes.
Okay. Can they ask them to give you a thumbs up to make sure the sound?
Can you give me a thumbs up if the sound's okay still? Okay. Now, in a semi-annual report on Monday, Washington released from the Treasury Department that 10 countries that are possibly using the exchange rate to gain export advantages over the U.S. 3 of them just so happen to be Singapore, Malaysia, and Vietnam. So today, after signing the U.S.-China trade agreement, what do you think those 3 countries are going to do? They're going to either play ball or they're going to perish. Statistical data is very important in implementing key essential forms of data of the budget for 2020. A national census should have been done when they did the ration cards. I've often speculated that it had been done back then, but now they're telling us that an official census for housing will be done in the late third to fourth quarter of next year. Now, if they're talking about doing that, I think it's a cross-reference because Article 140 and the HCL are in the 2020 budget, and they want to make sure they don't overpay the citizens for it. How do we know that? Because we know they've done censuses for the ration cards and for other statistical behaviors, especially for the Kurdistan region and other areas of Iraq. Completing all preparations for the implementation of the general popular census during the last third of the year, the ministry efforts in conducting field experiments and training of staff and testing smart devices that will be used in the census, stressing working with national and international agencies to overcome all challenges that can be faced. The census will be concerned with the development aspects of various sectors, stressing its importance in providing data statistical related to economic, social, and citizens. But the first one is economic. There's only two things that a census can help the economics of Iraq: Article 140 or the HCL. That's it.
Where's my little post-it notes, y'all?
Now,
Off my game. Go ahead. Keep going.
and if I never gave you dong lovers enough credit, here's the biggest one of them all.
Give me my credit.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin said today the first stage of this trade agreement between the United States and China will be fully enforceable, including a pledge by China to refrain from manipulating its currency.
Holla.
Hallelujah. Ms. Beebe, do you want to read your...
Let me say this. I've been trying to tell somebody about this phase one. I said, I saw this in phase one. No, it's agriculture, right? Somebody delivered right around Christmas time a little present to my email box.
Mm-hmm.
And this agreement is from the United States of America, dated December 13th. Fact sheet. The United States of America, or the United States and China has reached a historic and enforceable agreement on a phase one trade deal that requires structural reforms and other changes to China's economic and trade regime in the areas of intellectual property, technology transfer, agriculture, financial services, and currency and foreign exchange. Now, this is all in the first paragraph. The phase one agreement also includes a commitment by China that it will make substantial additional purchases of U.S. goods and services in the coming years. Importantly, the agreement establishes a strong dispute resolution system that ensures prompt and effective implementation and enforcement. Okay? Now, it breaks down each one of the items.
The 9 blocks.
The 9. And this is phase one, right?
Yep.
So, the most important one, currency, right?
Currency manipulation.
Okay. I'm going to go right on to the good part. They go over financial services at the bottom.
And if you want, she can post this and you guys can see it. We have a link or whatever to it.
Right. And actually, you were tagged in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like he dismissed it. So that's why the person reached out to me, Robert.
Mm-hmm.
Love Robert for it. We're going to celebrate when we go cash in that dome. And so under currency, the chapter on microeconomic policies and exchange rate matters include policy and transparency commitments related to currency issues. The chapter addresses unfair currency practices by requiring high standard commitments to refrain from competitive devaluations and targeting of exchange rates while promoting transparency and providing mechanisms for accountability and enforcement.
Now, we know this, that for make China agree to that, they had to go back to the Pacific Asian countries and tell them, look, if we raise our currency value, all of you have to raise your currency value also, because we're not going to give you some unfair trade advantage. And so if we do this, all of you have to do it too. That's why Vietnam was on the currency manipulation list, and that's why China was taken off. And that's also why the tariffs will remain on China until they fulfill their promises. Now, we're just getting to the good parts.
And and then Mr. Brando and April BB Club also, remember, can I say something? What you about to do?
No, do the thing.
So this is the other thing, because I subscribe to the Wall Street Journal, right? And I think this was one of the key moments, and then plus the other video, but I don't have that video. But when Trump speaks, he goes over these same points for phase 1, and he says we may possibly finish everything in phase 2, possibly. So we may only have 2 phases. We may not go on a 3rd phase.
And barring some stupid impeachment process, which I fully expect to be dismissed, they already told you a timeline for everything to be happening with Vietnam. Totally.
Yes, Nicole, I just dropped the mic.
Now, the U.S. Treasury has been a busy little beaver. Al-Siri said in a televised statement, Iraq has no choice but to rely on the oil revenues account at the Federal Reserve, which is approved by a decision by the UN Council. He pointed it out that freezing or tampering with this account means destruction of the country. And if that happens, they will return to Chapter 7. Return to Chapter 7. What does that mean? They are eligible for what? If you're not in Chapter 7, you've got to be in Chapter 8. So, if we are still in Chapter 8 capabilities, meaning all we have to do is elect a new prime minister that is not Shia and is independent or liberal with little or no political ties, and you will see the rest of the Iranian influence almost instantly leave the country. It's a domino effect. Once they get a new PM, you can get a new central bank governor, you can select a new cabinet, and then you're off to the races. Like Al Fayad said, it only takes hours to select a new cabinet. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, Mr. Brando, what's the big deal about the Iraq-China agreement? Because the one thing you haven't heard about lately is Iraq's deal with all those countries that signed up to do all those deals for them to borrow money for the reconstruction. When they solidified that deal today with China and the United States, there was a backdoor deal with China and Iraq. One, because China got cut off from Iran to buy their oil. So now they're buying it from Iraq, right? With that, Iraq has agreed with China to go ahead and pay for their reconstruction. So now China has revised a new reconstruction effort in Iraq, and all those loans from all those international companies just became moot. Having the government formed and politicians in place and managers and the CBI governor in place, the only thing good that the old PM did, he just ensured the fact that the new private sector will be launched, and it's about $500 billion, and free from any meddling from any GOI governor or minister, because that money now goes straight to the Federal Reserve. Now you have a total reconstruction effort that is free from any Iranian influence. And with that, you know it happened today because the implementation took today, as opposed to being taken a day after or a day before, based upon the agreement that was signed today. Now, we know that the technical part of this, the current analysis of economics and political alike, with a country like China is a strong competitor to the United States. The agreement includes allocating export revenues of 100,000 barrels a day, total daily exports to China, which amounts to about 850,000 barrels for a reconstruction project, which is oil for reconstruction. Basically, what they're saying right now for you guys is the whole private sector will be launched. It'll eliminate the whole unemployment. They'll eliminate job creation. They'll eliminate almost 80% of nobody having work to everybody having work, just because they're going to give China some oil. It will reduce unemployment basically right now from 70% down to 10% in the next 2 years. All doing without borrowing a dime against the budget or a single nickel from outside sources. Now, the thing that we have to be cognizant of as they select a new PM, that Mahdi, when he was elected, poised himself as a technocrat. And to make sure that this does not happen again, it is my recommendation that the things that we should be looking for as a new PM is going to be introduced to the public space, that they are Sunni or liberal or Christian or Kurd. If those things are to happen, then we are golden. Okay? An independent technocrat was supposed to take office in October 18, 2018, but that did not happen. Okay? Ms. Bibi already read the 5 key points down to 1 point that was the most crucial for the Iraqi trade deal, but understand that when they signed that trade deal, it enabled a trade deal to happen with Iraq and China, which enabled them to go ahead and do the deal with, thank you, Maximum Play.
He said game over.
Yeah, it's over. It enabled them to do what? Kick out the Iranian influence, and I don't care if they're in or out of session. They get more done when they're out of session than they do with in session. And with that, Miss Bibi, guess what that is?
The news.
That be the news. Now, I'm on here to take questions.
So, Gene Little would like to know, what kind of time frame are we looking at?
It depends on when we first start to notice on Forex the gradual rise of the yuan. If you're looking at the dong. Now, if you're looking at the reconstruction effort in Iraq, as soon as you start to notice that projects start to take off, or reconstruction and major purchases start to happen, like the stuff from Siemens starts to go forth, because without the major equipment to make the buildings happen, they can't build anything, they can't put people to work, right?
Right.
Okay.
Now, price points. I don't know, we don't do days, we don't do rates here, but
Thank you, Lisa.
Here's one of the things that, I mean, I've seen some numbers being thrown out there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you actually believe that the dong could get as high as $1?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's too high. I think that's unbelievable.
Vietnam does not have the same economic prowess as China, right?
Right.
They're looking at China to be at almost $1, right? Vietnam cannot be what China is. Mm-hmm. So that's not going to happen, okay? So that's probably, you could look at, I'm not going to get into that, but it's not going to happen.
Now, another thing, the China yuan, is that a good investment?
It was when it was 14 cents. If you were looking at 3 times, or double your money, 3 times your money. But, again, if you had, let's say, 10,000 maybe, you know what I'm saying? I could see you getting, 75 cents on the dollar. But right now, if you're the average dinar holder looking for the long pull, no, it's not really a great investment to me.
Yeah, and so here's my thing. It hasn't had a whole lot of movement.
Mm-mm.
So, when we did our video at the exchange, it was at 13 cents then, right?
Right.
And I checked recently, it's at 16 cents now, I
Right.
think. So, here's the thing. If we're looking at a 1-to-1 ratio, right?
Close right?
to it,
right?
right? Let's say
it's 80 cents.
And you're not looking at much. So,
yeah.
So you would have to invest. Let's say you took $100 down there. That's not going to yield you very much. It might get you about 300 yuan. Right. You're probably gonna get about $500 to $600.
Right.
That's it. So it's not like a windfall of money.
Right.
It's like a lottery scratcher.
Right.
Scratcher, not a lotto ticket. A
right.
Scratcher.
But now look at this. So now all of a sudden China's raising up their currency, and then all of a sudden now Vietnam wants to be taken off the currency manipulation list. So now all of a sudden the free trade agreements they signed with the European Union, with America and these other places, they say, look, you got to change your currency because you know what, we want to have a fair trade balance with you. Now they say, look, we're at X, right? a more fair trade balance. Now all of a sudden, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, all have to be a revelation to you. Right. You've got to look at all of those countries and say to yourself, wow, you have investment opportunity right now with those countries.
Mm-hmm. And I know even recently Indonesia went up, but it's not like a windfall.
It's not huge yet.
It's like 10% increase.
And you got to think about it like this. You have between now and guess when? The 2020 election. They already told you.
Right.
Because that's how they're enforcing it. That's the last part of that bomb for you people. How do you know on those emerging markets between now and the 2020 election?
So let me ask you this.
Sure.
So we know we're going to have to watch the dong and play the dong accordingly, right? So cash in as we see it increase, right? Mm-hmm. And we all going to have to, cash out when we feel, right, that we're good.
It's like Zion oil the other day.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. When Zion hit 51 cents and you hit me, you said, do you want to do it now? And I was like, nah, I'll wait. Dumbest thing I ever should have said. Should have said trade all now. My heart said trade all now. My soul said write it out. I mean, I made a little money, but it wasn't what I should have made. The dong's the same play. Mm-hmm. As you see it gain, you start thinking to yourself, a bird in the hand is way better than two in the bush.
Well, and I think, here's the thing with stocks, with anything. You have to have your out number, right? And
the dong will not be a dirty float. It will be a managed float because this is a whole country that bases their whole economic structure based upon what? Discipline.
Can I tell you my process with cryptos and everything else? So if I go into the dong, and I'm using the dong as an example because that's what we're talking about here. If I spend $500 on the dong, right? And I see it go up. Let's say it goes up 10 cents, right? I'm going to cash out $500 worth of dong. I got my initial investment out. Now I'm sitting on the house's money and I'm letting it ride to a safe spot to wherever I want it to be. And then I'm going to tear it out. So when I say tear it out, I'm saying, okay,
anything above this number, I'm good.
Okay.
5 cent increments, 10 cent increments, whatever it is.
So, 20 cent debt money. Pay off all my debts, right? Next level. Next level. And you have a certain percentage. And I think for me personally, this is my financial journey. This is what I'm talking about. Like, I feel like personally, it's always good to pull out your initial investment, right?
Yeah.
Put that pocket back in your cash.
Yeah.
And, in your pocket, in your purse, in your pocketbook, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? And then let it keep going. Just the thought.
I agree with the thought process.
That's what I do with cryptos.
I agree. Come on, y'all. You can call me. You can ask a question. You can propose a scenario. You can say I'm an idiot. Whatever you want to do.
How much dong is out there? And this is what G wants to know. How much dong is out there, and will the amount impede progress? Well,
the very first thing you got to know about Vietnam's a communist country, and so one of the things that they always talk about is their transparency. So they don't ever talk about the truthful number in circulation. Money in circulation. They don't ever know if they're telling the truth, and that's one problem with China, because China, they ease inflationary measures by printing more money. You see what I'm saying? And they destroy money when they want to curb inflationary measures. You know what I'm saying? So one of the things that everybody talks about with Vietnam is how much money they really have in circulation.
Darcet, I don't think it's too late to invest in the dong. The best thing you can do is go to the bank and see what the price is, or Google it and see what the rate is. Do you think it's too late to invest in the dong?
No, it's not too late. You got 30 to 45 days at a safe play to invest in dong. And with that, you've got equally amount of time to look at it from the standpoint from launching the private sector with the Iraqi dinar based upon the China agreement. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. That agreement launched another agreement which launched our whole strategy for our portfolio. You see what I'm saying? When people talk about, hey, why is this going to go? Now you have a private sector. And your private sector now is launched because China paid for it. And all you're giving them is oil, which you had in excess anyway. It's very simple.
You already answered the dirty flow question on the dome, right?
Yeah, it's not, because Vietnam's so disciplined, they're not going to do that.
So, do you think they'll both go in the first quarter?
Yeah. Is Sauter's nephew in Iraq? I don't know.
Is that who I saw him in a picture with?
Yeah, but his Sauter I thought his nephew got shot or something like that. And they tried to rush him out of the country. Thank you, Dijon.
What happened?
No, someone says keep up the good work. Thank you. We based all of these opinions based upon actual news sources that we gather from actual websites. We don't just pull them out of the sky. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when I give you an opinion, hey, Joe. What up, Joe? Sorry about that. Thank you, player. Thank you about that, Joe. Thank you. Thank you.
Did you see his question?
No, I didn't see his question.
He said, so do I buy more dong or dinar?
Dong. It's cheaper, and even at 20% on the dollar, even if you paid $500 and you got 20%, you'll make money faster because they're under no restriction.
And Joe, you can go into Chase right now. I was told it's $236 for $5 million as of yesterday. So I don't think it went up.
So think, if it goes 20 cents on $5 million, you pay $200, you made $1 million. If you pay $200 for 200,000 of Iraqi dinar, we're not really sure what the rate could be based upon speculation, even if it was $1.
Well, oh my gosh, some of these exchanges are going up on dinar. So exchange,
and in Florida, you can't buy dong right now.
So one exchange for $100K a dinar, $400. Crazy.
Yeah, they're gouging.
They are so gouging.
Yeah, I'm buying dong right now. And I'm buying dong, and let me stress something to you guys. I'm buying dong, and I'm investing in the marketplace, stocks, bonds, securities in America. Right now, you should be buying America's stocks, bonds. You shouldn't be worried about investing in foreign securities right now as far as infrastructure is concerned. Right now, our markets are booming. They've already said later on, Ms. Beebe just did a whole report on that. Later on, foreign markets will be emerging. Yeah. Right? Am I right about that?
Right.
So right now, if you want to do a smart investment, invest in our market.
Right.
Take the wings from that and then invest in foreign markets.
Right.
So
and I think here's the thing, and this is what I actually didn't do a report. You and I were having a conversation. So 2017, 2019 were the best years for America. The S&P 500, the Dow, record highs, the NASDAQ. One of the ETFs I was tracking, 48% last year, 48% return. You know, people were so concerned that we were going to go in a recession and all of that stuff. America, Motley Fool and analysts even say it, America is doing its best right here. But the tides will turn. Question is when. So right now, it's best to put your money right here in the United States, and eventually the tide will shift, and that's when you go foreign.
And that's how you make America great. You take your money out of it, put it into your you take your money out of your ETFs, put it in a secured cash account, then send that money overseas when you get ready, and triple and double your money. And that's how you make a bunch of money in this investment.
And they got foreign ETFs. They're just not ready to pop.
And that's what we teach in Patreon. When all these people sit here and tell you, well, this or that about Patreon, this is the stuff I give you for that. You should be making tons of money off the American market space right now.
Who is that? What is her name? She was on my channel. She was asking about Vanguard. She's a Vanguard girl.
I'm a big time Vanguard fan. I told you that. I like Vanguard. Those big funds they have.
There's one Vanguard that I do like.
The one that you saw with that couple, you liked it.
Yeah, that's the one with the 48%. But I was trying to remember her name. She was just in our chat earlier. I think she was like, her name is Out of Control or something like that. because she came to my video and she's like, no Vanguard. I'm mostly Fidelity. Fidelity has lower rates, but there is one Vanguard fund I do like. I can't find her. There was a question somewhere. So it's not
quantitative easing. No authentic angler. I don't think though. Well, I mean, I think right now they've been doing quantitative easing. I covered that in a couple shows back. I think once the markets relax, what's going to happen is I saw a report, or a friend of mine saw a report that says they were no longer issuing out $25,000 notes. They were only going to print or reprint 50,000, 100,000 notes. There was
IQD?
enough IQD. There was enough of those notes in circulation that they wanted to take those notes out of circulation. Those 50s, 100s, and 25s were only going to be used for large institutional buying, and that was that.
So do you think that Zimbabwe will revalue?
No, not in my lifetime.
Yeah.
You know what, you guys? I've enjoyed it. It's Wednesday night. It's been a good time.
Did you answer somebody what's going on with Iraq private sector now, and what should we be?
I just went over the whole thing.
Oh, okay, my bad.
No, I'm not mad at you.
I'm catching up.
You know, I'm so glad that 400 people turned out for the live. I think these are much more effective than the more frequency, don't you?
I think so. Hey, Robert G, I shouted you out earlier. If you just checked in, rewind. I showed your document, and thank you for that. My Christmas present.
Mr. Brando, how worried are you about Iran will do something? Well, they're launching missiles every day, but they can't hit the broadside of a barn. Mark, the thing that I would question everybody about, Iran hit with precision those oil fields in Saudi Arabia, but they can't seem to hit that base a couple thousand miles away in Iraq. I think something is arise. I'm not truly worried about Iran. And with the warships that are on their way in the Gulf over to protect the waters, and with the amount of troops that are on their way surrounding the borders and everything else, my thing that I would say with Iran, are you more worried about the United States than we are of you right now? With that, you guys, I will probably say goodnight.
Whew, toodaloo.
Toodaloo.
All right. Good night, y'all.
See you guys.
And there go Daisy.